Okay. Hello. Hello, Margo. Are you there?
As women.
I've had it with you. Welcome back, marketing nerds of the world. It's time for another episode of HAMYAW, and on this day, we want to talk about the experience of having both a real life and a digital life, and moments in your existence as a human being where sometimes it feels like your digital life can outweigh your real one. It's kind of a funny feeling because I think subconsciously a lot of us have the one-liner in our head that social media isn't real life, but sometimes it kind of is. It kind of is, and it impacts your real life. And there's the other side of the coin, of course, that's along that internet is not real life. That's saying, oh, you're getting cyberbullied. I think that's a tweet by Tyler, the Creator, where it's like, you're getting cyberbullied, turn your phone off. Ha 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 ha. And of course, it's not that simple. So we want to talk about this divide between our lives. Which should you value more? It's your real life. Which should you value more? How do we go about doing that? But how do we strike the balance that we kind of all exist now in these two universes? But before I say another word, Margo, do you exist in two universes?
If you didn't say it on Twitter, did it even happen?
No, it did not. If you have a hot take in the forest and no one's there to hear it, did it make an impact? No, it did. The answer
it didn't. It didn't. No,
physically impossible. But yeah,
possibly didn't. No, it's such a good question because I always feel like when I am in my real life with real humans, not that, and it's a weird thing to say because it's not like I met you online, you're not real, but when I'm interacting with human beings physically in front of me and I don't post about it, a part of me always feels like I'm hiding from my audience. Like, should they know I went to dinner? Did they know I went to this party? Did they even know I had a good time? Do they know I like this book? And it's like, you feel like you have a secret identity. It's not secret. Like there shouldn't be inconsistencies really. But for me, it got really exhausting, this like constantly announcing things about yourself. And as I should say this to the show, like in the moment I'm on a social pause. So we can talk about that as well, but
must be nice.
It is, but I mean like tremendous FOMO, but like, again, turn off your phone. So no, but to answer your question, like it is a weird feeling when you have that pull of digital where I'm kind of like, oh, I do want to tell people I did this. I want to invite them in my life. And there's part of it that's beautiful. And it feels like let down almost. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird because at the same time, you can be thriving in one domain and not another, and they don't touch each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Also, what is particularly, it's always marked to me if I'm getting sucked into social media drama, whether it's happening to me or whether it's happening to somebody else. I'm just like in my phone and I'm like full body anxious and I'm like scrolling all these things. And then I look around and like, what's actually happening in my life in that moment? My husband is sitting next to me on the couch reading a book, or like we're watching television. My cats are licking themselves and we're just kind of chilling. Yeah. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my phone in the other room because this is not where I need to be. An influencer recently made the assertion about valuing your digital self more than your real self. And I thought that was so interesting. And I think that's a question we all have to ask ourselves, because this is this like, should people know I went to dinner? Like, should they know I like this book? Like, I want people to know, because I think that our love of social media, like algorithms, Mark Zuckerberg, fuckery be damned. The thing that I think so many of us enjoy about social media is the validation, is the connection, is that sense of community. Yeah. But it's very easy to mistake that hyperactive, like sound bites, kind of knowing someone community online and totally neglect your real life because it's so easy to get sucked in, and actually like it's built to suck you in.
Totally. And it's also that difference between like when you feel that faux feeling of you knowing someone, it's also a strange thing because I do feel like not just social media, but my emails and my writing that exists online, like people do know me through those things. And that connection is real. Like that is part of me. And that's also a part of me that I've been called out on by my real life friends, who I remember friends being like, I didn't know you had an internet talk show. I didn't know you had an email list. What is this life you have? And I was like, oh, that's true. I never Like, you don't know.
Yeah,
you
people
have
don't
no
know.
idea. And it's not because I didn't want to tell them. It's because it never came up. I'm not going to be like, oh, do you want to hear the latest online business drama? This course dropped. It was not good.
Though.
And like, they don't care. They're like in law and medicine. Like, they don't care.
Doing the real shit out there on these streets. Yeah.
Like, actually saving lives. So, but it was weird. I had a friend actually sit me down being like, I want to know what you're doing. And I was like, okay, well, I have an internet talk show. And she's like, that is awesome. Can I watch it? And I was like, yes. Do you have YouTube? And she was like, I know what that is. You know, and it's like, it was sweet. It was so sweet. You forget that like other people live in other ways. And like some ways I do feel like they don't totally know me if they don't know this side. Not that it's different. Like I'm not that different, but you know what I mean?
God, I love that you raised that point because sometimes I'm like uncomfortable if people from my real life like watch the show. Yes. Or, like one of my buddies replied to an email of mine recently and I was like, what the fuck are you doing on my email list? Go away. Don't look at me. Like, don't look at me like this. I have nothing to be ashamed of. And I'm super proud of my business and everything that I've built. But yeah, do my friends not really in real life, a lot of them not really fully understand what I do? Yep. Because it's hard to explain and requires a lot of context. There is another piece of this that I think is important to remember too, because like your online self is certainly you. But I think about this in the sense of like, and this is probably a really bad comparison, but I'm doing that show and I do it. In like the early days of the internet, when we were in middle school and high school, and you would like meet boys on like AIM or meet them on like live, like start talking to them on LiveJournal or like the group chats or whatever. Chat rooms.
And we were all catfish.
You know, and like emails. Yeah, right. Let's not talk about that part. ASL. In those moments, like feeling like talking to these people for a year or 2 years at a time, you know, and then meeting them in person or like learning something about them and realizing that you don't really like know the full scope of them. You don't know if they're messy. You don't know the way they treat wait staff. Like you don't know how they interact with the world around them really. Like what they're like in real life is often like there's obviously that huge contextual missing because you can curate how you are online as well. I'm just awful. Never meet me in person is what I'm trying to say.
But it's a really good point. Like I feel like it's like dating where you're not inauthentic on a date, but you're not farting. You know, or you're not, or you're blaming it on everyone else. Like the person doesn't really know. They don't know your bowel movement schedule. Yes. They don't know what foods you don't like. They don't know what it's like when like your mom said that thing and now you're in a mood and like, how are you at dinner now? You're putting on your best self with boundaries. Yeah. And so like, I think internet relationships are like it, but I have to tell you a funny story. I don't know if I've ever told you this. So Sarah and I were friends online, but thought we were friends in real life because we like literally voxed and talked on the phone like every day. Yeah. One day we were like, let's get together. So we get together and she calls me up. She's like, listen, it was like very dramatic too. She goes, I'm very tall. Oh my God. I was like, which is like,
it's big Sarah Peck energy. We've got to have her on the show. Continue.
I know, it was so great. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, she's like, yeah, it might be like a little off-putting. Like people don't realize. And I was like, well, I'm very little. It was just like,
I'm extremely small.
Really, and it was funny because it's one of those things, like it doesn't change your relationship, but it is something like, it never occurred to me that like, she's my tall friend, you know, and I'm her short friend.
And I remember Margot meeting you too for the first time when we had been like internet friends and then meeting you at the first Copywriter Club conference. I remember I saw you and you were working on your laptop. I was like, hi. And we were like hugged and whatever. We're both like working. And you were like, can I braid my hair in your room? And I was like, I don't have a room, but if I did, absolutely. And she was like, oh man, I was just sitting here and I was like, I know we don't really know each other that well, but I feel like I was like, oh, it's fine. I can just do my hair in Hitler's room. I hope that's okay. And I was like, yes, that is. You know,
no boundaries.
Yeah, who needs a boundary? Bring it on. But I think what we want to clarify here, there is, of course, the genuine connection happening in the digital space. But I want to dig in for a moment because a practice that I'm really trying to apply is valuing my real life self perhaps more than my digital self. Like I'm proud of the digital self that I've built. I'm very proud of the business I've built and the reputation that I have and the results I get from my clients and the work that I do. Like very proud of all that. But there's also a whole other universe of me over here that I miss that when I'm getting sucked into the digital space and like a husband.
I wanted to ask you about what that missing feels like. Like, is it like you're not present or what is it? What does it
Oh
feel
yeah.
like?
It's a huge lack of presence. Like I will be curled up on the couch around my phone, like worrying about something or other and talking about something or other, gossiping, and I'm realizing that my husband's sitting there waiting for me to like say hello, and my cats want to be pet and played with. And it's a beautiful day outside and like, let's go for a walk. I'm missing my life in a lot of ways. And it's something I continue to work on. And my sister needles me on it when I see her, because families like that, where she's like, what you doing? You're not working, are you? Put the phone down. And I'm just like, oh, fine, I hate you, but you're right. I was with my family over the weekend too, and I remember I'm trying to be better about like putting my phone away, and putting my phone down. At the end of the day, like this stuff, the things that we say and the conflicts and drama that we see, like they can be interesting and compelling. But like ultimately we go to bed every night, like in our actual homes, and we have our actual friends around us too, and I think we're just so, especially with like the way the internet is right now, no one wants to get canceled. No one wants to get in trouble. No one wants to get like be seen as something or other. But also what's been interesting to me is thinking about like, should that happen? If you are not solid in your real life, and if you don't have your support systems, it will totally obliterate you.
Yes.
And that's a really important point that I think we miss too. Like if we value the digital self more than the IRL self, and the digital self is, for all intents and purposes, so fragile. Yeah. If we don't cultivate the real, anything that happens in this digital world has the power to just totally incinerate our sense of self and who we know ourselves to be. And I think that's something that I don't say it's like something I live in fear of, but I think that's the reality that we're looking at.
I think that we cannot underscore enough how important it is to have a foundation of real people around you. # free Britney. Like there's just like that's how it happens though. I mean, how many more tell-alls do we need to read of people who have this perfectly curated outside self because they listened to execs or whatever. They played the game. They didn't foster relationships. They didn't have a good partner. They didn't have parents that believed in them, or they just didn't feed those types of intimate connections, which require work. Like they really do. And I think that's the other thing. Like these things aren't easy. And I believe there's a place where both worlds can support each other.
Absolutely.
But I think we should have our finger or feet really firmly planted in the real world to inform the digital world. I think when it starts being the opposite, it's really dangerous.
Yeah, and that's a place that's really easy for me to get sucked into. So I would ask Mrs. Margot Aaron, how is your social media break going? Like thinking about what we're talking about here, like do you feel like it's brought you closer to your real life? I know you have FOMO about missing the digital world, but talk to me about that.
Yes, and because we're still in a pandemic as of filming this, so a lot of my relationships still demand the phone. Like I'm not broadcasting in the same way, so that weight is lifted, but like still the majority of my friendships right now are maintained on text. So I'm doing the same thing you're doing. And I feel two conflicting realities where I'll be in the middle of a conversation and my husband will come home or my daughter will want my attention and I'll miss the cues because I don't want to offend the friend who we're, deep in something heavy. And so like trying to balance those two, it's a special kind of difficult, but one, it's made me a better communicator because I can set a foundation where a lot of my friends know if I ghost all of a sudden in the middle of something important, they know it's because kid, like it's not you, it's not you, like that, like, but some people like they like drama. And so I don't want that can end up being like, hey, I'm sorry, why did you just ghost on me? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not, that's a different thing. But no, to your point on the social thing, I'll tell you what, I would say the biggest benefit for me personally has been that I get very sucked into being reactive. And so if I feel like there's a hot take that I like have to respond to, and there's this like social norm or expectation that within my digital bubble, I need to comment on something, or I need to be the spokesperson for something that I don't feel qualified to talk about, or that I don't want to touch. I feel now that I can actually go deeper on things and think about them and actually write them out. Like we'll use a benign example, but even when it's something marketing related, how a launch went for someone and everyone's talking shit about this person, or what should you, is email dead? Is blogging dead? Like, I don't want to put out a public statement in reaction to that. I want to sit and think about it. And I want to write something. I'll practice with my email list, like, because we have that rapport where I can be like, here's some things I'm chewing on. Yeah. What do you think? But it's long form. I can contradict myself myself and I can change my mind. Like there's that format works for me better. I really don't like the polarizing effect of social media where I have to be a fully developed person because I don't feel like one. And I get sucked into performance everything. So if people are like, I'm reading this book, I'm like, I'm reading this book. Look at all my notes on this book. And like, it's just not good for my personality because I'm such a people pleaser and I'm so insecure. So like, okay, that's half tongue in cheek, but like, we're all a little insecure and a part of me, like, it feeds that part of me that wants to be liked. And so that's where it gets dangerous, is that not having the likes is so nice because now I can send an email and I don't actually know how it performed beyond like open rates. Like that's my proxy metric, but like likes fucking slaughter me if I'm having a bad day, which is crazy. Like even with a content calendar, I will still like, if I'm having a bad day, it's like a cheat. It's like my drugs where I could be like, well, I'll just get a dopamine hit real quick right here. BRB.
Yeah, exactly.
Like me, they like me. Yeah. And then it's like, well, now I'm no longer being true to my values because now I just want to be a whore to the likes. So like, I know I'm susceptible to that is what I'm saying. Oh, same. It's been helpful to me to not have it.
I was thinking about that too, like real life versus digital self. I was like, there are times where there's conflict in my real life and I'll be like, I'm going to go to Instagram. It's, people like me there. Yeah. People think I'm cool, whatever. And so I go on Instagram and I like share a meme. People are like, you're so funny. And I'm like, thank you for validating me. This is two-part for me. I think that one, we need to learn how to give each other grace when we're like not online. You know, like, and not available. Like the expectation is that we are just all available at all times for everything. And sometimes we're just going to miss stuff because we want to be there for our real life. And if we don't begrudge it of ourselves, we cannot begrudge it of other people. Yeah. Like, and I think this is also like, you know, if you need something from somebody, you leave something for them to see or find, and they don't do it, you know, that's where things can kind of get complicated. Yeah. And I think that we need to realize that like all of us are whole people, because I think that's what I forget in the digital space too, because sometimes like these influencers, these faces become caricatures of themselves. Yeah. And you're like, well, this person thinks this and this is their values. And then you meet them in person and you're like, oh, that was fairly innocuous. Same thing on the opposite side where it's like, this person's my hero. They're so amazing. I can't wait to meet them. And then, oh, that was fairly innocuous. Like that was fairly benign. This is why I love that ContraPoints video on canceling as well, because there's one part of it that always sticks out to me where she's basically talking about people who assume she's trans herself and people assume she hates non-binary people. And she's just sitting there reading out like problematic tweets of herself and being like, this is what happened here. Like I own this one just wasn't great. And then she's just like assuming that I hate non-binary people. And she just goes, no, no, like this is not true. You know, and I think that the digital self is, again, a curated self. It's us trying to put our best faces forward, but it can be transformed into something else with other people's like ideas being impressed upon us about who we are and how we move through the world. And I think that your sense of self has to be so strong. So if you're not cultivating that real self, that real relationship, that real support network, you know, when I say real, I'm not like only your friends you can see in person are your friends. No, but like people who know you, who've seen you through a lot of stuff, who shared experiences with you, who know who you are, who've seen you up and down.
Like you got to compartmentalize. I mean, this was true before the internet, that like not all your friends do all the same things. So like, you know, you have friends you talk to about what you're wearing. You have friends you talk to about intellectual stuff. You have friends you talk to about your career. Very few people go into all the categories. And like, if you have those people, keep them. That's amazing. But like, I think social in particular, but also digital in general, those conversations are compartmentalized. Like they live in one specific sect of the internet. And I'm thinking too about the different channels. Like I remember thinking there was one account on Insta I was following that I was like, oh, she's really funny. Why doesn't she have more followers? And then I saw like, she's super famous on TikTok. And I'm like, it's so funny how you can be irrelevant in one space and like doing it in another. And we make these assumptions about who you are as a result of this. So, I mean, I think you have to go in knowing that these things happen, eyes open, and then sometimes we have to find out for yourself what your boundaries are. Okay, here's where it gets even more blurry though, because we say digital life is not real life, but it impacts it is. So like, I'm not going to lie that, you know, if I am louder on Insta, I get more sales. These things are related. So the first time, this was awesome, that I was at a party and someone came up to me and was like, are you Margot from HAMYAW?
She texted me immediately after, by the way. She was like, I got recognized. I was like, ah!
I have no cool. I was like, yes, I am. What would you like me to sign?
And the best part exactly how I would have responded.
The best part is that everyone around them didn't know what it was. So they're like, who is this woman? Like, who are you? What is HAMYAW? And I was like, God, I don't want them to see. We only have a couple hundred like views per episode. It's a underground popular internet talk show. I put it on with my friend. Cult hit. There we go. And then I'm trying to be falsely humble because I'm like, please don't Google it. Please don't Google me. But it's funny because that cachet does impact the brand, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how I exist online then influenced the real world.
I like the way Laura Ball Gray put it at one point, like years ago. She was like, it is cool to be a little famous in a very, very tiny corner of the internet. It is cool. Like, it's good feelings. I'm going to be flat out with y'all about that. Like, everyone wants to be validated. Everyone wants to be seen. But where it gets messy is when you're like, I am this person on this pedestal. Surely now that someone has finally seen me, I am here, you know? And what we talk about all the time is it's just like, it's cool to have people respond and have people like what we do, because at the end of the day, like, I'm sitting in my bedroom at my vanity, like with a microphone like that. And my husband's in the other room doing it. Like, my two cats don't give a shit that I have an internet talk show or how many people are on my email list. I'm not even going to say it keeps me grounded because I'm not like so full of myself. But again, like this comes back to the, well, my real life kind of sucks. So I'm going to go to Instagram where people.
Yeah. And
it's true. I'm being super vulnerable right now, you guys, with sharing this with y'all. But as we move through life, and as, you know, for those listening, like as you build and grow, if that's what you want, of course, like if you want a personal brand that people follow, like it's really easy to fall into the trap. And I've seen it wreck people. Where their opinion of people on the internet becomes their identity. Yeah. And then you're not grounded in anything because you cannot control other people's opinions of you. You just can't.
Period. And I think this is the catch-22 of marketing, because we are from this world where the Kool-Aid is, or like the mantra is, you can control outcomes, right? You do these things, you write the copy the right way, you launch at the right time, you follow my template, you take my course, you go to my webinar, you do the things, and you get this outcome, and it's predictable. Implied there is that you can control your perception. You can control what people think, you can make them buy, right? And like, that's just not fucking true.
Bad as it may be.
Sorry.
You're not.
It's not over. Let's break it down though, because having a strategy to deliver what people need to them, and then being loud about telling them, and also telling them in a way that they can connect to, and you can bring them with you, is a skill. It's a skill and it works, but you're not duping people. You're curating yourself, but you're not presenting yourself to be something you're not. I think there's a line here between purposefully curating, right? Like, you know me in a certain way online because that's what I have told you. But what you see about me, like what you reflect based on what I've shared, that's on you. Like, some people might be like, Margot's a huge douche. She's super insecure. Or someone might be like, she's really, thank you. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of what people get from what I put out is them, right? So like, if it resonates with them, then you're my people. If it doesn't resonate with you, then you're not my people. And it's not a failure of my curation. That is the point. So this is true with copy. This is true with all marketing. It has a bifurcating effect. Ooh. So if everyone likes you, then it's not working because you're just being like bland.
Gotta polarize, baby.
I don't like the word because it sounds like we're talking about like politics and we're like combative, but you're right. So like, bifurcating in the sense of like, if I sell hats and you don't want hats, then you're not interested. But that's not because of me personally. You don't want hats. If you're not interested in internet marketing, like most of my real life friends, then this channel is not for you, right? Like, this is not something you'd be interested in. It's not a personal reflection of us. So I think that's part of why you need like a solid core, but you also need to know that like what someone sees about your show, like my mom is like, tries to watch the show and she's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, because it's not for you.
Not for you.
But is that a failure of like, did we not do a good job? Like, no. So I think knowing what you can control and where that limit is. And then after that, like, you got to be in integrity. You got to be putting the stuff out. You got to have your good boundaries. But like, then what people take away from that, it's usually on them. I mean, it's always on them. It's always on them. What did Paul Jarvis say about like people purposely misinterpret being like the weirdest flex? It's weird.
The overvaluing of the digital self soon is what makes us, I think, so anxious around. And I did a tweet about this like yesterday. So I'm going to pimp my own tweet here. Just pretend conversation like, hey, those are a lot of books. What you doing? And I'm like, well, thank you. Like, I'm really trying hard to be perfectly inclusive and anti-racist and take care of my clients' mental health very carefully. And also I want to cultivate a warm, witty persona while also not cultivating codependency between myself and my audience, because they need to know that they cannot count on me for these things. And I can't encourage parasocial relationships. And they're like, oh, cool. Are you you a professor? And I'm like, no, I work in digital marketing. I'm just trying to send an email. Like that's how it feels in the online space. Sometimes when we think about this like curation of the digital self, it creates this like perfectionist checklist because we also feel like we can't make mistakes. You know, we're gonna make them. So at the end of the day, do the work, obviously, like it's important. And I study this stuff, and I was joking about it because it is sometimes like you think about this and other professions being the expectation, or even in other corners of the industry. And it's like, whew, it's a lot. But at the same time, you know, it's part of, we want to be conscious, and it's part of living our values. So that's all one thing. But again, what we're doing to improve, it doesn't make us who we are.
Yeah. So here's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you do the work and you don't tell anyone, did you do it? I think that actually you're probably doing more work, because usually if you've done the work, let's think about personal growth and happiness. Someone who is happy doesn't walk around being like, let me show you the 5 ways in which I am happy. Here are the things that make me happy. Here's why I'm happy. You are not happy. Here's why so-and-so is not happy. That's not what fulfilled, happy, satisfied people sound like. An actual satisfied person is simply living their life satisfied and happy, and doesn't need to make a stink about it. So I think like that's why knowing who you are in your core is such an important part about this, and why you have to have good boundaries. My digital self is part of me. Who you guys know from watching this show, like that is a part of me, in the same way that reading my emails is, and in the same way that watching us on Instagram is. Like those are all still parts of me, but they're not all of me. There is a pause moment before you hit send on something, which makes it inherently different than if you're having a conversation with me where I can't fucking filter. Even this, we might edit this. You don't know. Of course you know. You see the cut clips.
It's not really.
It's edited, y'all. It's edited. I have makeup on. So like,
me too.
It's not that it's insincere. It's not that it's actually me. It's that it's one facet, and we are all multifaceted humans. And I think if you don't have your hand firmly planted on the ground, you're going to lose yourself. You're going to lose your sense of reality, basically in WandaVision.
Which is a great show. Marvel is slaying right now. Like, oh my God. Anyway, we'll do a whole episode on Falcon and Winter Soldier, because Marvel's.
I didn't see that yet.
Oh, it's so good. Anyway, shall we bring it on home, my dear?
Awesome. All right. We want to hear from y'all. Tell us, where is that tension between your digital self and your real self? Do they feel in conflict? Are they perfectly in sync? How do they connect with each other? How do they conflict? How do you manage it? When have you drank your own Kool-Aid, or is it just us? Tell us everything in the comments below. And always, if you liked this episode, please like it below, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. I am Margot Aaron.
And I'm Hillary Weiss.
This has been HAMYAW, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye for now, y'all.